G'day folks, you're listening to the podcast, It's the Whisky Talking with Harrie and Craig. In this podcast we take a light-hearted look at our current favourite whisky, things that have got us thinking lately, other things that just pop into our heads while we're talking, and matters that have slowly taken on more significance as we ease our way into the last third of our lives. So kick back, pour yourself a pleasing beverage, and join us on our search for wisdom, thinly disguised as mates having a bit of a banter. G'day, Harrie.
G'day, Craig. How are you?
Good, mate. How are you?
Very, very well, thank you.
Feel like a drink?
Certainly do.
What have you got for me this week?
Well, in the same vein as I think probably our previous whisky, or one of the first whiskies, was a Starboard's one from Port Melbourne.
Starboard's. Excellent.
So it's another one of theirs. It's I guess one of their latest releases, which I believe is probably a re-release of ones that they've done before. This is the latest version thereof, and it is. I'm going to have a bit of taste here now. It's the ginger beer cask one. So it's from Starboard's, which we said come out of Port Melbourne. Something interesting that I did read about them earlier is that they source all of their ingredients from no more than a day's drive from the distillery in Port Melbourne. But this one, it took my fancy, because it was the new one that came out, and it happened to be when I had the flu, and I thought it would be good medicinally, seeing it's got the ginger beer in it, and it did the job.
Any excuse.
Yeah, so it was good to drink at night before I go to bed, just because of the whiskey and the ginger.
Yeah, no, it's got you can smell the ginger beer, or a hint of it.
Yeah, it's funny.
You first put your nose in
You
there.
smell it because you can smell it, but it doesn't. You
it
can't
doesn't
seem to taste it until the aftertaste, and then you've got that, I guess, that peppery ginger taste on your tongue.
And very smooth.
It is, and I'll get some of the tasting notes. What's it say here? I think what they said about this particular one, it says this is the 8th iteration of our famous ginger beer cask series. So there's been more than just a few before. And the thing with this one, it's been maturing longer in their ginger beer casks, because I think Starboard's must make ginger beers as well. But I find it very palatable, and I'm surprised there's as much left in the bottle as there is, because it probably won't be too much longer. So tasting notes: aroma, ginger, dried orange and dark chocolate.
Yeah, dark chocolate. Yep.
Palate, fresh ginger, pineapple and berries. Finish, a touch of citrus, gingerbread and fruit and nut chocolate.
Yeah, the gingerbread. Yeah, that's sort of there. That's sort of it's a soft form of ginger.
Yeah, and also I think that picks up the dry orange as well. The dried orange, it's almost like orange peel, or it's got that sort of citrus taste. But it is very nice.
Yeah, dessert in a glass.
Yes, it's a small.
Definitely, it's not sickly sweet.
No,
any means.
it's not. It's
still very much whiskey.
Yeah, it's a very nice, and it's a single malt as well. So there you go.
Awesome. Anything been on your mind this week?
No, not a lot. As far as work, didn't do a lot of work.
Because
we bought the caravan. We hit the road in the caravan. So we had the caravan for the first weekend out. Would like to have gone earlier, but with the schedules weren't such that we could get away. So we had a long weekend, and we ducked out to a place called Dwelling Up, which is about just an hour's drive south of here, or southeast a little bit. Wonderful little spot. We often go there for long weekends when we can in the camper trailer. And now we did it for the first time in the caravan. It was absolutely magic. So,
and how did the caravan go?
Wonderful, fantastic. Except microwave doesn't work. It sounds like first world problems. Microwave in a caravan for a start, but it doesn't work. So I'm waiting with bated breath for the warranty department to get back to us. And from what I'm reading and what I understand, after sales service with caravans is definitely wanting. And I think that's probably the same with most after-sales service of anything. Just a side issue, my daughter's gone through the 3rd fridge in, I think, probably 2 weeks.
Oh, God.
She gets
brand new
fridges, and the alarms go the whole time. 2 fridges she got, alarms kept going all day and all night, even though the fridge was shut, and they checked everything else. Took them away, and this time there's leaking of water inside it, so they're very apologetic and they'll sort it out. But you'd think by 3rd time they would have got it sorted. Anyway, so we live in hope that our microwave will be fixed before the next trip, which will be at the end of this month, we're doing just a couple of nights. I might try and extend it to 3 if I can get Trace to knock off early. Just in a place called Peppy Beach, or Peppy Grove Beach, just out near Busso. And then we've got a big one planned for next year in May. We're going to do 2 or probably 3 weeks up towards Exmouth, and places between.
Wow.
So it'll be good. So we did the four nights in Dwelling Up, and then we came back, had a couple of days at work, and then went to Broome for 3 nights. We got friends up there, so that was nice too. So
life's hard.
Yeah, so that's about all I've got to report since last time.
Well, I've had interesting experiences while you've been away.
I can see it on your face.
Yes. Yeah, well, that was one of them. I walked into a security screen door, for no reason other than I just didn't see it. I was looking all the way through it. And, I got the shock of my life when I suddenly stopped. What was that? Suddenly there's blood everywhere. And it's like walking into a cheese grater. And I've got it on my knuckles. It looks like I've been in a bar fight. I wasn't even drinking.
Right.
Well, I was drinking, but I wasn't drunk.
No,
I can't blame that.
I've seen the ads for that particular screen door,
Yes.
and I think they tested by kicking it and hitting it with hammers and everything. So
They didn't test it by whacking their nose against it.
No.
And then the other thing I've been dealing with is a swarm of bees in our backyard. They just sort of came from nowhere and decided that our frangipani tree was a good one to congregate on. We've got a local bee swarm rescuer who's on the job.
Apiarist? Is it apiarist?
I think they're the one. An apiarist is someone who looks after hives. I think he does do that too. So he probably is. He would call himself that. Actually, I thought we might even get him as a guest at some point because he retired from the police force, I don't know, about 10, 20 years ago.
Wow.
And now this is what he does.
Wow.
Plus goes away on caravans with his dogs and his wife. So, yeah, he might have some interesting stories to tell us about post-work life. And the other thing that I was sparked my interest this week was the last few weeks I've been listening to a podcast called Rock on Tours with Gary Kemp, who used to be in Spandau Ballet, and Guy Pratt, who used to be in Icehouse, and he played with Pink Floyd a lot. He's played with a lot of people. Anyway, during COVID, they started a podcast talking to all their rock and roll mates. One of the episodes that was interesting was Boy George. I like some of Boy George's songs, but I've never really been a big fan of his. But
he does interview well. I've heard several interviews.
He's a very intelligent bloke, and he was talking about how he was, for some reason, looking at old videos or interviews of himself when in his heyday in the 80s. And he's just saying that with the clarity of his age now, looking back on himself, he said, I just don't even know how I managed to walk down the street unaided. He said, I clearly knew nothing back then. And I immediately thought, I can see how that feels. Because I was just cleaning out some files in my office at work. I'm having to move to a smaller space. And I'm looking through these files, and there's stuff there, from 30 plus years ago, talks that I've given, and I think to myself, what on earth was I thinking back then? How could I put people through this stuff? I can't understand. I really thought it was important back then.
Well, it probably was. Probably was to them too. So
yeah. So yeah, we can't ever. How we evaluate ourselves back then, it's a tricky thing to do. The age-old question: would you go back with what you know now, and how would life be? And it's a tricky one to understand.
Well, normally they use that to say, well, with your wealth of knowledge and skills and everything you've gained to this point, taking that back to the younger you and imparting that knowledge to the younger you, how much better off you would be. But in that Boy George example, if he had said, well, look, you're being a bit of a punce, don't do what you're doing, well, he wouldn't have done what he did, and he wouldn't be where he got. So, it's it could go either way, I suppose. I think that too much knowledge can probably be bad. And I think probably if you're going to not only imparting your knowledge and skills to the younger you're also imparting your fears and trepidations as well. So I think that's probably going to stop you doing what you did to get to where you are now. So it's a funny thing.
Yeah, it's a sliding doors moment, isn't
Yes.
it? And we can't ever go back and change those things.
No.
There's a lot of stuff we probably regret from our younger years, but
That made us who we are.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's the whole thing. I think no matter what.
That's the journey.
Yeah, exactly. And you wouldn't be in the position to ponder how you were back then, if not for many of the stupid decisions you made back then.
Mm. Well, speaking of journeys, we've got a special guest on today. A good friend of mine, Geoff Black. He likes his whiskey, but he also likes to tell a good story. So grab your drink, Harrie. We're going to listen to Geoff and come back and talk about some of the things that he brings up. Take it away.
Cheers.
Okay, our special guest today is my good friend Geoff Black. Geoff has been retired now for quite a few years, and from the outside looking in, he's made it look very easy and something to be desired. His early retirement was facilitated by generous redundancy, and essentially his wife and he have been showing the middle finger to the man ever since. G'day, Geoff. Welcome to the podcast, and thank you so much for sharing with us your experience of what it is like to be retired. As a bit of a warm-up, I wonder if you can give us a brief history of your work life.
G'day, Craig. Mate, always a pleasure to have you here and chat to you, particularly when there's Scotch involved. So I don't know how far back you want to go, but
whatever you like, whatever you think might be interesting.
I think an interesting fact to me is where I come to with really no education. That blows me. I haven't completed year 10. Not many people know that. And there's a story for that, is that I fell in love with surfing and stopped going to school. So I passed the exams but didn't do any classwork, which wasn't enough to get a pass. so that was year 10, and then Dad basically really disappointed in me, came along and said, right, well, what are you good at? Spoke to the trade teachers, and turned out metalwork was, because I was in a boys' technical school, so it was all about trades. So he said, right, you're going to be a boilermaker. I didn't even have any say in it. So off I went.
What's a boilermaker?
Metal fabricator.
No, I was thinking that you were probably thinking.
Oh, no, I knew it because I'd already done 3 years of trade school.
Yeah.
So I knew what I was in for. But anyway, so completed the trade and came out 4 years later and decided that was enough. And then went on a myriad of things, still living in Melbourne, of course. But probably the best fun was running the surf shop. I've sold you some of these stories, mate.
Yes, that's right. But the rest of the world don't know these stories, so feel free to repeat that.
So with a couple of mates of mine, we had a surf shop, and I was basically the manager's front man running it, which was just, it was like living your passion. I mean, selling boards and wetsuits and bikinis even. It was a tough gig. Someone had to do it. But it was just...
So when you weren't surfing, you were just talking about it or selling it to other people?
Yeah, exactly. And along with that, I got all the free boards and free wetsuits and didn't pay for a thing, and went to all the big events like the Bells Beach Pro and as a special guest, and it was just the best fun I've ever had.
Wow.
Yeah.
So then you ended. So I don't know about then, but I met you some years after that, and you were a sales rep for Fabergé. Was that right?
Correct.
Yes. So how did you move from the surf shop to Fabergé?
Well, the first thing that happened was I met my now wife, Michelle.
That's right.
And we decided to move to Queensland in my beloved Combi, which is that's a whole story in itself. That if that thing could talk, I'd be in a lot of trouble. But so we moved to Queensland for a couple of years, and we had an absolute ball. Really, really enjoyed that lifestyle, and but it was aging us because all our Melbourne mates said, "No, Geoff and Michelle are up, and we had a beautiful apartment, 13th floor, looking straight at Burleigh Heads, right on the beach," and everyone wanted to come up and stay. And we
the holiday destination.
Yeah. So, but we were working, and Michelle was at the Nerang Council and in a really good admin job, and I was managing Just Jeans, and so the routine was two friends would come up, stay with us. We'd go to work. They'd sleep through the day. We'd come home. They'd want to go to the casino and party in nightclubs. So we were 23. You know,
Well, you
it's
can
stuff.
sort of do that then.
You could sort of do that, but we had to back it up. And then they'd go and then 2 more would come up. So long story short, we had to leave because we were aging 10 years for every year we were there.
That's hilarious.
And another little glitch that happened there is Michelle and I had a bit of a break up, and so I looked at a map and I thought, what's the furthest place from here? It turned out to be Perth.
As combi will travel.
So I got in the combi and drove from the Gold Coast to Perth. and there's a million stories in there as well, but we got back talking together on the phone, realising we missed each other. We had about 3 to 4 months apart. So, and a lot of that I was in the South Australian desert at a place called Cactus and just surfing these incredible places on my own. But I had clear head and sort of realised that, I was missing it. So I got to Perth, we got together on the phone, and she arrived with a suitcase about 3 to 4 months later, and I proposed and the rest was history. So that's how we got here.
Yep.
That was about 80. We actually got here in just before America's Cup at 86, 87.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so that's when you started working for Fabergé?
So no, I got into a surf shop business. Actually, no, I got a job straight up with Jeans West with old Alistair Norwood, which was hilarious. He's a funny one. I did one of their TV ads. But you only saw my ass on the film.
Show us your best side, Jeffrey.
So they decided they needed somebody with a fuller behind to show off their jeans, and I couldn't nail. I had to do this turn where I had to stand up and do this spin turn. I couldn't nail it.
You needed a board underneath,
mate. And the director was getting pretty pissed off because the girl that was doing the girl shot, she did it in one take.
Yeah.
Anyway, I eventually got the thing done, and so here we are watching my ass on TV for the next 2 years. On.
I never knew that one.
Yeah,
that's a ripper.
That was pretty funny. So Jeans West, and then I was playing football up here at Whitford's, and so here's the thing: you need an in life. You need somebody who's going to be there at the time that you need it to give you that step up. Otherwise, you're just a resume. You're just another CV in line.
Yep.
So I wasn't even thinking about pharmaceuticals. And a mate of mine was the state manager for Fabergé. And he said, I just think you're a natural for this. And I said, well, what do you do? And he told me. And I said, oh, okay, sounds all right. He said, it comes with a company car, blah, blah, blah. I thought, okay, sounds really good. So he gave me the leg in.
Right. Yep.
And it just fitted me like a glove. So then I had about a 27, 28 year stint in moving through different companies, but most of it was with Pfizer.
Yep.
25 years of it.
And that was the last job, and so that's the one that I mentioned that you got the redundancy from.
Yeah.
Yep.
So they kept giving me bigger roles, Craig. And I'm like, I can't believe how much faith they're putting in me. And I had a $35 million business I was running across 3 states with 10 staff. It was a fairly big responsibility. And I had a $2 million media spend that was my choice as to how I spent it. And of course, pretty much unlimited expenses to take pharmacists out for dinner and lunch and all that sort of thing. And to this day, I shake my head thinking, how did a year 10 graduate, non-graduate, land this? It's the Talking Heads song. Well, how did I get here?
You're just waiting for someone to knock on the door and say, actually, Geoff, there's been a mistake.
Pretty much. It was just some crazy times. I mean, Michelle called me the original FIFO because I was on a plane to Adelaide mostly, actually, for every second week. So it was 25 flights a year at a week at a time.
Wow.
And this is, as you know, with 2 very active kids, particularly a swimmer in the family, she had to shoulder all that.
Yeah, it's tough. So when you were working, so you've done a number of different roles, but probably towards the end there was one large role for a long time. Did that job provide you with some meaning for your life? I mean, did it provide you with an identity, do you think?
I think it did. I mean, Pfizer was really one of the big ones. It was such a prestigious pharmaceutical company. This is before Viagra, but that put it on the map. Everybody knew that. And then, of course, through COVID with their vaccines, it was such a big company. And I really loved working there. I mean, like all jobs, you had your days where you hated it. But I guess the boss I had, the national manager who lived in Sydney, he was a real hard bastard. But he was one of those old school guys that when you got his trust, you had it for life. He had your back no matter what. And it almost turned into a father-son relationship. So,
yeah,
when my dad passed, he just put me on a plane and Michelle just said, go, put it on the company ticket.
So so during that time, if you had met someone for the first time and they would say to you, what do you do for a living? Would that be the first sort of thing that would pop into your head was, I'm a state rep or a state manager or something? So is that what you called yourself, or did you call yourself something different? Or
no, I usually told them I sold drugs.
Drug dealer.
And that line got pushed a bit far, particularly when the kids went to school and the teachers asked the kids, what does your dad do? What's your dad? And I'm not sure, was it Jordan or Bianca? Probably Bianca came straight out and said, well, my dad's a drug seller.
The truth comes out of the mouths of babes.
So, yeah. But I mean, look, the business was healthcare, and we were always taught to feel good about it because the medications we were promoting and training pharmacy staff on was making it a better world, which I believe. That was always the feel good, that we were helping people improve their health.
So what did it do to your identity when you retired? What did you call yourself, or what did you think of yourself after that point?
Well, retirement, and the story, I mean, I was made redundant at 54. It wasn't entirely out of the blue because the big multinational pharma companies like Pfizer were progressively moving their businesses to the eastern states, as were, like when I first started working in Perth with them, I had 400 pharmacies, but I had 35 key accounts because Coles had an office here, Woolworths had an office here, all the big grocery stores, all the big pharmacies, brands, Amcal had an office here. But then they started shutting them all down and moving them to Sydney. So as a state manager, my role was diminishing. Fortunately, the Adelaide manager retired. So that allowed me to step into his states because he had Northern Territory as well. That probably saved me. I wouldn't have survived. So that was really good. But coming back to the redundancy, my world was still getting smaller.
Yep.
And I could see it coming. I said to Michelle, I think I was about 50, I said, I'd give myself 5 years and this job won't be here. And I was a year early, which was, and that was a hilarious story in itself. Anyway.
So while you were working, did you receive any advice about about how to prepare for retirement?
Not retirement per se, no, none. We sourced that ourselves.
So, I mean, many people, when I ask this question too, the first thing they think about is finance. But finance issues aside, there was nothing that sort of, was that the sort of advice you were seeking, or was it mostly financial?
Both.
Yeah, okay.
We certainly had to meet with somebody in a professional capacity, which we did, to tell us we're okay. And followed some investment advice and strategies, and we just sort of tweaked a few things we were doing because I guess at 54, it's hard to get your head around you're not going to work again. As good as that sounds, you still think, oh shit, I don't want to get to 70 and run out of money.
So when you were made redundant, I remember that soon after you picked up another job, a sort of part-time job, and I wondered, did you find that you weren't ready to retire at that point?
Well, firstly, that was offered to me. And so when we retired, we did a round-the-world cruise. And I came back and we're sitting here and one of my reps was working with a company called Smith & Nephew, Wound Care. Really, really good company. And the role was more of a training, so that they flew me. So I thought, okay, I'll have a crack at this. It was only a 5-day week. It wasn't fortnight. So 3 days, 1 week, 2 the next. It wasn't really a full-time job. So I thought I'll see how this goes. So the first 6 weeks I was in Sydney doing courses on all the wound care and getting me up to speed on that. And then I was just going into my mates in pharmacies and sitting in the back room with their staff and training them on all the wound care. It was really, really good job. But then 5 months down the track, Michelle said, well, this is all well and good, but I want to get back onto the travel schedule, so you can't be working. And I said, fair enough.
Work was getting in the way of retirement.
So that was that. But it was, I guess, if it wasn't offered to me, then I wouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
But it was just a great offer that came out of the blue. And you know what? If I wanted to work, I would have kept going. That was great.
Okay. So have there been any people in your life who've provided you with inspiration in planning your retirement? Is there anyone that you thought, I want to be like that?
See, once again, because I was 54, I was the only one out of all our, Michelle and I, we done it because as you know, she was made redundant the year before me at UWA. So our kids called us the redundants, which was great. But we didn't really have anybody that had retired around us. Everyone was still working, which was awkward. We even, so here's a weird thing that we encountered. We actually used to have this dinner club with our friends and that all went to school together and all the kids and neighbourhood people that we'd been friends with for 20 years. So once a month, we'd get together at a venue for dinner just to catch up. And we noticed there was this resentment coming at us. And we're thinking, what have we done? But they just didn't want to hear about our wonderful life. And we were careful not to put it in their face, but at the same time, when they ask you what you're doing, we'd tell them.
Yeah.
And then they didn't want to hear it, which, it was hard.
Yeah, no, that's a real quandary.
But back to your question, I didn't really have anybody that was retired.
So anyway, none from the previous generation, like your uncles or,
No, because they were all in Melbourne.
Yeah. You don't remember your grandparents being retired?
I remember them retiring, but I was too young to remember what they did with it.
Yeah.
My grandfather on my dad's side he had a apple orchard, and so he sold that, and he lived on to a ripe old age. But I was pretty young. But he was just into fishing and stuff like that.
Yeah, right.
So we had to develop our own ideas about what retirement meant. And here's a point I think is interesting for anybody coming out of a full-on corporate life. It took me 2 years to get that out of my head.
The corporate life.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like you wake up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat thinking I've got a presentation tomorrow and I hadn't prepared it. And then I'd finally realise, no, hang on, that's not true. I'm retired. But that would happen often.
Wow. Because I was going to ask you, some people, when they know retirement is imminent, they start to get anxious about it, about what it might look like. And for you, it sort of came as a bit of a surprise in a sense. I mean, you sort of knew you might have been made redundant, but you probably didn't expect to be retired from such an early age. So I'm guessing you probably didn't have anxieties about what retirement might look like. But once you were retired, you started having anxieties about your old job.
I reckon, yeah. Well, it was just a shock. I mean, you imagine, going from a life, because it was just cold stop one day, and I had a company car, I had a company laptop, I had company phone, I had all that stuff. I didn't ever own my own phone or my own laptop. I didn't need it, or a car. So we had to take care of all that. But then I remember because it was November. It's about now. It's 11 years ago. And I was sitting on the beach at my favourite Mullaloo thing.
Cue the violins.
Yeah. and I'm sitting there because we played frisbee as we do with the boys in the morning, and they all went to work. And I thought, I'll just walk down the beach. I'm sitting there, twiddling my thumbs and thinking, what the F am I going to do now? Oh, there's no one here to play with.
Where are all the boys gone?
So hence the travel. So the best thing we did was the cruising.
Mm.
And that's where we spoke to some retirement people.
Yeah. Okay.
And they gave great advice.
Yep. So you've been retired for quite a few years now, so 11, you say? Yep. So I was just about to ask, what have you been doing with your time? So there's cruising.
Yeah.
What else have you been doing?
So I guess it depends on the season. We make a rule not to be home in winter if we can avoid it. So I'll be in Northern Hemisphere or Indonesia or some warm place. So travel is still a very, very big part. We bought a caravan, and that's awesome. So, yeah, I think we're either in the caravan or overseas a lot.
Yeah.
But summer, I always say I never leave Western Australia in summer because it's the best place in the world.
Mm.
You know, look at why would you go anywhere?
Yeah, well, people are often searching for the best beach in the world, but we've
We're
got
living
some
on
of them.
Yeah, and that's right. So, but I think people often say to me, I hear, how do you handle retirement? Don't you ever get bored? Well, a simple answer is no. And I would say to them, if you do ever feel like you're getting bored, well, just do something.
Mm.
It's not hard. Go for a bike ride.
So one of the things about being in corporate life is that it's fairly structured.
Mm.
And it may not have a very rigid timetable, but things are organised for you, or there are certain milestones that have to be met. So was that one of the things that you had to sort of wean yourself off? Were you looking for structure, or
no,
or at least you missed it, and so you didn't necessarily want to replace it, but you had to sort of let it dissolve?
You had to find something else to do.
Yeah,
and I think it's important to have, if you're fit enough to do it, to at least do a physical thing every day. To me, it always, being a member at Mullaloo Surf Club was and still is a big part of my life. I mean, I would get up and I'd go down to the gym. If it was summer, I'd have a gym, swim, and a run and a coffee. And that would take me through until sea breeze comes in, and then you'd come home and you'd work it out from there. But Michelle always says, I don't know how we found time to work because we're so busy. And there's always stuff to do around the house.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So, but yeah, there is a definite, not a culture shock. When you cease full-time work, I can see how some people would struggle.
Mm.
I could see it. My attitude has always been, if I don't do it today, I'll do it tomorrow. If not, then I might do it next week. Unless it's critical, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And now when I go to bed, when I was staying, I'd often wake up with work. There's nothing in here.
And you don't mind?
No, it's just it's a dead space.
Yeah.
But I sleep like a baby.
Yeah, well, that's right. I mean, for a lot of reasons, as we age, we find it hard to get a good night's sleep. So the fact that you can do that is amazing.
Michelle always laughs because if I start reading a book, which I'll go to bed every night reading a book, 5 minutes in, I'm snoring.
So all of these activities you talked about that you're filling your life with, were they generally things that you were doing while you were working just less often, or have you found some new things that you've picked up? So
the surf club part of it was always I was doing, training with the boys and what have you. But as you know, I've talked to you about this. I've fallen in love with disc golf.
Mm-hmm.
There's a great group of guys at the club. There's about 20 of us, and we call ourselves the over trainers. And it's a piss take because no one overtrains. It's just, but we have we play ultimate frisbee on Wednesdays and Fridays at 5:30, and then somebody came in. I think it might have been Paul, came back from New Zealand about 6 years ago, and told us about this new game called disc golf. And as you know, it's played with smaller, harder. They're not frisbees; they're discs, and they're hard plastic, and you can actually throw them 200 meters if you're going well.
Wow!
So they go a long way, and they've got putters, drivers, and mid ranges, just like golf does, and it plays into baskets.
Yep.
And I've become very passionate about it. And it's most days, even a day like today, I can jump on the bike because the local course is at Woodvale, and go down there and play 18 holes for free. And it's a great thing to do because you're just playing amongst the trees and the birds and the kookaburras and the parrots, and it's fantastic. And Michelle will often come and walk the park with me because it's a nice park.
You don't have to worry about magpies this time of year?
No,
They might know you by now.
they do here.
Yeah, okay.
But I've never been swooped there. So that's something I really, really enjoy. I mean, apart from that, I ride everywhere.
Yeah, that's great.
Here's a funny one. When you're working, you do a weekly shop, particularly with kids. So we'll shop every day, just because we'll want to wake up and think, I won't worry about thinking about what I'll have tomorrow. I'll ride up to Coles and grab it.
Yeah. You become a hunter-gatherer.
Yeah.
So a lot of the time when someone retires, their roles at home can change, and this can often create conflict with their partner. Can you tell us how these things may have changed for you and your wife since you stopped working full-time?
Got to be careful. She's just sitting over there.
Yeah, I know.
I think Michelle and I got it pretty worked out. I mean, she is, as you well know, she's an amazing cook. Which is half the reason I've got to work out is to get rid of it. So she is incredible in the kitchen, and I also in the caravan. There's some of the meals she's knocked up in the middle of a forest will blow your mind.
Yeah.
So that's her role, and we kind of share the house cleaning. I mean, she reckons I'm shit at doing the toilets, so she does them. She thinks I never do it well enough. But I'm allowed to vacuum.
You're allowed to vacuum.
And of course, my major role with the food is that she cooks it, I clean it.
Yeah.
And that works well.
Yeah.
So I think we often talk about people being on the same page in retirement. That's important.
Oh yeah. So you settled into a good groove.
And we are.
Yeah.
Pretty much we agree on most directional things we want to do. And it's quite often when we'll think of a trip. And that's a whole other thing that she does really well, is plans it.
Yep.
To the point where I've got in trouble for not paying attention. You've heard those stories.
Now we're going here first. So back on when you were working, so of all the jobs that you've had, I mean, you've given us a lot of detail about your work history, but do you think there was one that was the best for you, and why would that have been?
Oh, it's a surf shop, 100%.
The first good job.
Oh.
So if circumstances were different, would you be back there right now, do you think?
I reckon it'd be a great retirement gig. I knew quite a few mates in Melbourne that just had their own shop, and that's all they ever did. And it was just meeting your mates, coming in, talking surf, and no stress. I reckon that would be awesome. But I mean, I was never one to put my money on the line to, to really do that. But look, in terms of job satisfaction, I think that was satisfying, but it was just a pure fun factor.
Yeah.
Satisfaction for me was existentially Pfizer. I mean, I can't believe how far I took that. I felt like I was bluffing him the whole way. I'm like, you want me to do what?
Well, I think when it comes down to it, most jobs are probably like that.
Probably.
Everyone feels a bit of imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
We don't deserve this job that we got.
Yeah. I'd just say yes and work it out later.
Yeah.
They said, we want you to fly to Sydney and take over the My Chemist Warehouse account. I'm like, okay, it's a $100 million business. I'll work it out. I think.
How hard could it be?
How hard could it be? And you just, I remember sitting there in presentations in boardrooms with all these guys in suits and somehow pulling it off. once again, I'm coming out to talking heads in my head. Well, how did I get here? I felt like an imposter.
A good thing for your tombstone, maybe, as well. So, I've always been envious of your lifestyle, both before and after you stopped working. Do you have any advice for people on work-life balance, particularly for those who are still working?
I think. So here's the thing: it's a real hot topic at the moment. There's many people that don't stop work when they get home. And towards the end of my career, I was guilty of that because they shut. This is when they were starting to wind everything down at state level. They shut the state office, so I had to set up here in my home study. And just because it was convenient to do so, I'd be working away on whatever. I'd stop about 5 o'clock, and kids would come home, and we'd have dinner and whatever, watch some TV. But then I might go back in at 8 o'clock because I could.
Mm.
So you got to have some control over yourself to know when to cut off. But I think work-life balance, exercise is critical.
Mm.
You got to have some interest, and ideally some sort of physical thing. I know you like running in the mornings, and that's a great way to start the day.
Mm.
It just sets you up. So that's important.
Yep.
And then, a wise person always told me, don't ever hoard your holidays. Use them.
Yeah. So some of those probably good answers to my next question, which is what lessons have you learned about giving yourself the best chance of a long life?
Look, exercise. Look, I've got some vices. I enjoy a drink, but I work it off.
Mm.
It's funny now because when we go on holiday, and it's because obviously in my 60s, my metabolism has slowed, not what it used to be. So we can go away, and we came back from Indonesia, and I'd put on 3 kilos, and we've only been back 3 weeks. So I'm trying to get rid of that.
Mm.
And then we'll go in the caravan, and that's even worse because at 5 o'clock you can hear the champagne corks popping, and all this stuff comes out. The cheese and biscuits come out, and it's a very social thing. So the same thing happens. I come back from that overweight. I've got to hit the gym and get rid of it. But it's just
the price you pay.
It's the price you pay. I mean, we take the view that when we go on holiday, let's enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I'll worry about the excess baggage when I get home.
Mm. So when you were working, was your work related to your social life? I mean, for instance, did you have friends that were also work colleagues? And has this changed since you stopped working?
Yeah, because I don't really see any of the work colleagues anymore. There was a while where we did, but that's just kind of stopped off. So I would say, obviously we've got a circle of friends, and you were very much at the top of that list. But I've got a wide circle of friends at Mullaloo, and we just did that weekend at Lancelin with 20 blokes going up there in a big house watching the footy, and that's good fun. That sort of stuff is in retirement because So here's the other thing: Michelle and I spend 24/7 together. That's an adjustment.
Mm. Yeah, a lot of people probably couldn't cope with that.
Well, don't think of it.
Mm.
You're sitting there thinking, okay, we're going to be together pretty much a lot. So I think it's important that you also have your own interests.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a big change.
Mm.
So that's a balance thing.
Yep. So how has retirement been for you? Any downsides?
No, none.
Not at all.
No.
So you recommend it to anyone?
Yeah. So you asked earlier, had anybody give me retirement advice? Not until I'd retired. And we went on the cruise ships, and we did London to Perth and Perth to London. So we literally went around the world in 106 days. And we were the youngest on the cruise ship by 20 years. We were about 54, 55, and they were anything up to 90.
Yeah.
And some lovely old people. And we still have some good friends from that. But they all said the same thing, how come you retired? And I said, well, I got made redundant, so here we are. And they said, did you think about going back to work? I said, well, yes, but we had some advice and we don't think we need to. And they said, that's really, really good, because we worked until we were 70 or 65 and thinking we'd have a great retirement, and they're in wheelchairs or they've had hips or they've, got early dementia or whatever. And they're just saying, if they had their time back, they would have done what we did. So there's no age, everyone says 65, 67 for the pension. Bullshit. Go when you can.
Yeah.
And you need advice to get that right. But if you've got that, 40's not too early in my book.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it does depend on what you do for work and whether that's the sort of thing you want to do with your life. So, I know for me, there's a lot of stuff I wanted to do with my work. And so retiring early would have meant, okay, well, I'm stopping all of that. I'm cutting all of that out of my life. And I'd have to find something else. So I don't think that would have been so easy for me. But I can see for you that, particularly the corporate life that you had dominated your life, and getting out of that might have been seen as it's relief. It's a release of something, and allowing you to do other things that you're more passionate about.
Yeah, well, I think you become time rich. I think most of us in life feel time poor. Now, whether that's kids, work, whatever, a combination of everything, we are time rich. That's the best kind of rich to be.
Yeah,
by far. And the other advice, whoever's listening to this, I would say, we do a lot of watching on YouTube on fellow retirees and what they're doing. And I've come to realise that there's two life expectancies. There's the one where you're going to go off in the wooden box or whatever, but there's your healthy life expectancy, and that's more important.
Yeah,
that's the one. You might make 90 or better, but what's your last 10 years going to be like?
Yeah,
and we've got dementia in our family. Both Michelle's mum and my mum, their last 10 years were horrible.
Yeah, and even if it's not as dramatic as that, can you travel?
Can you travel
if you're frail or?
And over 75, internationally, insurance goes through the roof. So there's all these things to consider. So I guess, and this comes back to what the people on the cruise ship were saying to us. You're fit, you're healthy-ish. This is your time. You've got to realise this is the time, because in 5 years' time, who knows?
But don't leave it too late.
No regrets, Craig.
Yep. All right, well, I've taken enough of your time. I've got one last question. Any pearls of wisdom for those in the last third of their life?
Yeah, I'd have to summarise this, but I think I was just talking about that. Just live in the moment.
Yep.
Don't look too far ahead. Look where you are and look what you're doing. It's just realising what you've got and not what you think you need. And more often than not, you've actually already got it.
Yeah, okay.
It's about enjoying all of that and really just living in the moment. And I think that's something we do pretty well.
Great. All right, well, thank you so much again for sharing your retirement history with us and your work history. And let's turn the machine off and finish off that whiskey.
Oh, perfect. Thanks, mate. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Right, well, that was pretty interesting. Jeff Tott likes to tell a story. He's very good at it.
Doesn't mind a yarn, does he?
He's a pretty funny bugger too.
Yeah, very funny.
And, it was quite a long interview this time compared to the others we've had, but he had some really good points about things, and a couple that really pricked my attention was one he said towards the end, which was, don't waste a moment. If you can, retire as soon as possible. And I was thinking about that at the time, but also since, that certainly works for some people when their job or what they are doing for a job is something that they can let go of easily when it comes to retirement. Whereas I think others who what they do for a job, if they're lucky, they're doing something that is sort of their identity, and it's something that they like to do. Like I can only speak for myself, I suppose. So I've been an academic psychologist for a long time, and I do a lot of research, and that part really excites me. But some of the other stuff associated with the job, particularly the admin, it's really got tedious over the years. So I'd be in an instant I'd give that up. Whereas the research stuff, even if I was retired, I would probably do some of that work. So I think Geoff's point is probably, I think if there are other things you want to do in life, then there's probably not a great reason to hold off doing it unless there are restrictions.
But I think there are some of those people we've spoken to before. They see that if they are so welded to their career that the things they want to do afterwards still are very, very similar to what they're doing, if not like your dad, for example, and like the fellow that I'm going to be speaking to, whereby his idea of retirement is going back and consulting, doing what he was doing. So, I think that's, like you were saying, I think it's really how welded you are to your career. And it's probably those careers where when someone asks you, what do you do? And it's not really what you do, it's who you are. When someone answers it, well, I do this, this, this and this, well, that's likely that probably when they retire, they won't do that. But if they say, what do you do? Well, I am a such and such.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Then you're probably going to be a such and such forever, and you'll just do different forms of it, even in retirement.
Yep. The other aspect of what Geoff said that really struck me was how when he and his wife, Michelle, retired, they'd both had fairly generous redundancies and were able to retire very early and live well, doing lots of travel. That they found that they were losing friends, either through jealousy or resentment, or so when they tell them stories about all the travel they were doing, the people weren't actually excited about hearing it. And I thought, that was pretty sad. But I think it speaks to a more general issue, which is that whenever we retire, there's no guarantee that all of our friends are going to be retired at the same point.
No.
We could be doing it late, or we could be doing it early. But what's happening with them is a completely different agenda, and that could be a challenge for people, especially if they're retired and no one else is.
That's right, and it's even the timing of the day as well. Because I guess not being retired, but I'm just assuming when you're retired, a lot more of what you would do during the day, because there's that big void during the day where you used to be working, and so probably at night time. Well, I've seen them retire, but probably go to sleep, probably have dinner at 6 and go to bed. So your friends that you're seeing that are still working, they're working all day. So to try and catch up in the evening may not work. The sync may not be there. So I think there's not only the possible resentment, and I guess the envy of someone who's retired. I think that's part of it. I think part of it, like you were just saying then, just trying to get timetables to mesh so you can actually see each other at the same time.
Yeah, well, it's often been a challenge with us trying to do something with Geoff and Michelle socially, so that they've basically changed their week structure around so that on the weekends, when most people are out and about doing stuff, they tend to stay home because they don't like the crowds.
Fair enough.
And they'll save the weekdays for doing those sorts of things. So they'll go into town, into the city, and go to bars when there's no one around. They think it's great. Whereas for us, it just doesn't work. And so if we decide to go out for dinner sometime with them,
6 o'clock.
Yeah, 6 o'clock. It'll be during the week, but it will be an early night for us because we just can't kick on. No. It's a school night. So that's. It's not a huge challenge to work through when you're retired, but it's just something to keep in mind.
And I think probably as we all sort of move towards that, we get a little bit more, I guess, flex in our jobs. But I think the younger you are, the harder it is, because the people that you're mixing with, your friends, are all in the stage in their career where they're trying to advance themselves, and they're doing the extra hours, and they're doing the weekend work, and they're doing whatever they can, I guess, to suck up and climb up that ladder. So I think that's probably even harder the younger you are. The other thing that I think he mentioned that I thought was quite interesting as well was that where he picked up a whole lot of, you asked the question, I think, how do you pick up, where do you get your advice from, etc. on retirement, and it was from the cruises that they did. Did a whole lot of cruises, and they caught up with people that were retired, and they got all the advice then afterwards, which is how to deal with life retired. But it was interesting also thinking they did do a lot of cruising, and for me, I probably couldn't think of anything worse, but they were doing it all the time, and the people that love cruising. But I wonder whether it's the chicken and the egg thing, in that they were going on cruises because it's a long period of time they can be away, and they don't have to deal with, I guess, the envious friends or the unable to catch up with friends, and so they go out and do things that take them away from, I guess, that conflict.
Yeah. Well, not only conflict, but also gives them something exciting to do when at home there's not all that stuff to do, I suppose.
No, you can only clean the gutters out so many times. Once would be good. All right, well, that's been a very long episode, and I hope you enjoyed hearing about our very amusing friend. We're hoping to have more amusing friends on in coming episodes, and also more of this, more whiskies, maybe from Starboard, but we're hoping to branch out from Australia for the next one. All right, thanks very much, Harrie. See ya.
Cheers, Craig. See you next time.
It's the Whisky Talking is written and produced by Craig Spielman and Harrie Swanson. All music is written and performed by Craig Spielman. The audio was recorded at the Wardrobe in Perth, Western Australia. We value your feedback about the show, especially any information you can provide on issues we've discussed that we can share with our listeners. We'd also love to hear any whisky recommendations. Our email address is whiskytalking@gmail.com. Thanks for listening. We all benefit profoundly from more listening.